You are now tuned to BS3 Network. BS3 Network, changing the way you watch TV.
It's Queen3 King. It's Queen3 King. It's Queen3 King. Queen3 King, we the team, it's going down. We the talk of the town, it's going down. We royalty, wear our crowns, it's going down. Tune in now, it's going down. Queen3 King, we the team, it's going down. We the talk of the town, it's going down. We royalty, wear our crowns, it's going down. Tune in now, it's going down. It's Queen3 King on BS3 Network.
Welcome to another episode of Queen3 King. I'm gonna bring that beat back. You know how we do it. Don't act brand. They're gonna start tripping. You know. I know Mika ain't here, but somebody can rock their shoulders. I know we got a pastor on the show today, but somebody can rock their shoulders. He ain't been saved all his little life. I know he got. I know his big mama a missionary, but he ain't been saved his whole
You can
little
cut
life.
away, can't you, Pastor?
All right, welcome to another episode of Queen3 King. Today's episode is Duty of Man with special guest host, very special guest host, Pastor DP
Yes,
Dawkins.
Sir.
You know, we often talk about, you know, the hosts that we have on that jump on and join us and whatnot, and they often become fast friends and ultimately family. Well, this guy, Pastor DP Dawkins, he was family before he was a friend. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
He was a family before he was a friend. You see? So I'm even going to talk like a pastor today. I'm going to repeat what I say sometimes, and sometimes I'm going to say what I repeat. But anyway, yeah. So today, again, duty of man. This ought to be a very interesting topic and discussion today. Duty of man. What is a man's duty? You know, we've had an episode before talking about if you were a real man, which ruffles some feathers, but. This one ought to be interesting, and I expect some nuggets to come out of here. But let's go ahead and start with our introductions. We will start by way of just a little south of the Red River, almost, like Mama said, damn near in Van Augustine. In Anna, Texas, we got the seasoned queen, also known as Darling Nikki. Coco, the grandma herself, Skinny Minnie, Boney Maroney, talk to the people queen.
Hello, everyone. I hope y'all had a great day.
Yeah, and Uncle Lawrence used to call a quarter pounder. And we won't say why. Now we don't have have you heard from the educator queen?
She's just getting in from work. She's about to log in.
Okay, hopefully she done bathed. We'll skip the educator queen till she
Bathed.
Yeah. And we'll go right on to the baby queen, known as Mama Lee, Lee, formerly known as Blake's mama. She is now firmly entrenched in the corner of Bronxy, New York Red. He done blessed the household through tragedy already. Talk to the people, baby queen.
Hello, everybody. And a special hello to my Leos. It is Leo season.
Yeah, it's our season, girl.
It is.
It's Leo season.
Pastor, that put your mama square in this conversation, don't it?
I know, that's exactly what I was thinking about.
And
Yes. She's amongst the greatest.
Yes.
Yep. And now getting a swallow of her box wine as she slides on in here. We're gonna have to. I'm glad we got a pastor on today because it looked like she's in need of prayer. Looked like she's in need of prayer today. This is the educated queen. She's from Garland, Texas, by way of Tulsa, Oklahoma. She has an affinity for Franzia. The right side of her hair, her curls are on point. The left side, well, they are reflective of the day she's likely had. Let's go ahead and talk to Miss Georgia, the educated queen, Meba TT. Talk to the people queen.
Hey, y'all.
That's not your usual setup.
Play the music again, producer.
Okay.
Maybe this will get us something.
Baby, I'm tired.
Maybe this will get us some energy. Just one shoulder. Wow. That's all right. That's all right. Cut it. The pastor gonna bring it on in a second. That's all right. She gonna wake up. And next, last but certainly not least, again, our special guest host, our cousin, our double cousin, Pastor D.P. Dawkins of Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church out of Fate, Texas. Welcome, Pastor.
Thank you so much. And thank you again for having me on Queen3 King. It's always a pleasure to be with family and enjoy these topics.
Have you lost track of how many appearances you've made, sir?
Yes, sir, I have. I don't count the appearances. I look at every appearance as another opportunity. So
I heard that.
All right.
I heard that. Odobo Shandala. We got Tracy in the building. Let's get her comments here. She says, "Good evening, family." And then we got
good evening, Miss Twig.
We got Ben Suttereth III, the gentleman who put the
Ben.
BS
Hey, Ben.
in BS3. All right, let's go ahead and start. Excuse me. We're live on Roku. Search BS3 TV. Download today. Thank you, Miss Producer. Our YouTube viewers, please click the like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. We're going to have to pass these on to Lily or somebody like that. I can't be doing this much talking. All right, let's get that other comment from Ben right quick. He said Mika did that mother of the church prayer. All right. Initial thoughts. I'm gonna start with the baby queen on this one. So again, duty of man. What man are we even referring to? In your opinion?
In my opinion, I guess it's a little bit of both, kind of based on the videos we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
So, the man of all men, and men. So I think it's a little mixture of both.
Okay. All right. Educated queen, what man are we referring to when we talk about duty of man?
What videos are we referring to?
Don't worry about that. Just ask. When you heard the topic, what was your first thought? Because I don't show you the videos, and I'm glad you said that. That's not a trick. That's not we intentionally want to come on raw. We don't want to come on prepped, basically.
I thought y'all had passed a video that I didn't know about.
We don't want y'all. We literally want to give you our honest, open thoughts as they come. You know, like I don't come tell them this is what the questions we're gonna ask, anything like that. I want to get their raw, reaction, basically. So when you hear duty of man, when you saw the description of the show, what was your thoughts?
I went relationship.
Oh, really? Okay. That's yeah. They said there's a couple of sayings out there. A hurt dog a holler, they say that. And they say I'm trying to put this because you got a fast on. They say closed mouth don't get fed. So if that's where you went, that's where you went.
Yeah, that's what I thought about.
Okay. All right. Nico.
That's exactly what I thought about too, Mika.
Relationship. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. That's not too far off topic. In fact, all right, Pastor. When you hear this, and again, that's one of the reasons why I wanted to bring Pastor on here because of this particular topic. Can go a bunch of different ways, and we're gonna go a particular way, but I still want to hear about some things. So, Pastor, when you hear about duty of man, what man are we referring to?
Well, I have to say that I am also thinking relationship. But also, when I say relationship, I'm speaking about a relationship with God. I am thinking of a spiritual man. And any other man pales in comparison. Yeah. If he does not have a relationship with God.
Right on. And if I may add to that, so one of the reasons why I asked that question, duty of man, is because there is a spirit man, right? That we have. And a lot of folks think that our spirit has a gender, so to speak. And then when we get talking to, they said they talk to the spirit man. They ain't talking to me. But yeah, if you are getting addressed as the spirit man, they are talking to you, so to speak. So, but we're not talking about that aspect of it. We are talking about the flesh and blood man and what his duty is. And as Pastor said, if you don't have a relationship as a man, regardless of what phase of man we're talking about or what aspect of man we're talking about, you're in a heap of trouble. So again, that is what we are talking about. The actual man. And again, it is heavy relationship driven, whether it be a husband, whether it be a significant other, a fiance, a father, it is relationship driven, regardless of the type of relationship. All right, Pastor, let's go ahead and just start with you. We're just going to ask this question in a very broad sense, and then we'll get to the video. What, in your estimation, is the duty of man? And I know that you can go sermon on this, so we try. We only got, so, give us your concise version of what is the duty of man.
That's easy for me because as a pastor, the answer is already given in the Bible.
I heard that.
And Ecclesiastes chapter number 12, Ecclesiastes, which is a book of preachers written by one of the wisest men that ever lived. Many believe was the wisest, but I think Christ was the wisest man that ever walked the face of the earth. But Solomon, and he basically says in Ecclesiastes 12 and 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter, meaning that after everything is said and done, after everything has been heard, the whole duty of man is simply this: to fear God and to keep his commandments.
I heard that.
And if you were to break that down and look at it from the intent in which it was written, if you were to examine his life, he had riches, he had fame. He was a man that in the Bible was talking about how many relationships with women that he had, since we're talking about relationships. But the one thing that he realized is that at the end of the day, it was all vanity, meaning empty, because he was not meeting the full duty of man, because he violated his relationship with God by not understanding the importance of not what was physical, but what was something that was deeper than a physical. And that was his relationship that he had spiritually with God.
Yeah.
And so from a spiritual standpoint, it's two things, but it's easier said than done. But the duty of man is also knowing what role to play and when to play that role.
Oh, that's so strong right there. So strong right there. Yeah. Just because you can shoot don't mean you got the shot.
Right.
Okay, so he said to know your role and know when to play it. So to fear God and to keep his commandments. So now what we're going to do is we're going to give you a practical application, a practical explanation and our opinions of exactly how you do that. That basically is how this show gonna break down as far as I'm concerned. Let's go to the season queen. When you, what is the duty of man? And again, when I say man, I'm talking about men. So let's say it like that. We could have also said duty of men, but again, it was a catchier title. So what is the duty of man from a practical standpoint? Pastor just gave the spiritual, the biblical definition. What is the duty of man?
I feel like the duty of man is just doing what is right in God's eyes, and not trying to be like anybody else, but just be like Jesus. And that is truly what I try to do. But we are all of us have sinned and come short of his glory. But I still try to do that every day of my life.
All right, Mika, what is the duty of man?
I'm looking at it from, I know where you're going because I am too. Okay, I'm just like, you break the question down like that. That's where I'm going to go. So yeah, I've been at work since 6:15 this morning. So maybe but I'm looking at it when I'm looking at it in different aspects. But if I look at it as a relationship, you know, if I have a man, his duty to me is to protect and provide.
Mm-hmm.
And if I look at it with me and God, because we are men, you know, we covered under man. What is man supposed to do under the eyesight of God is to keep his commandments and live righteously. So I'm looking at it two ways. So those are the two things that came up right away for me.
Fantastic. That's exactly what I was expecting to hear early and often. Provider, protector. All right. And I want to ask Pastor, is this provide and protector fall under what he just said? Okay. Lily, but I'm going to let Lily say what she needs to say first in terms of what is the duty of man?
The three things: protect, provide, lead. Those are the things that come to my head when you think about a duty of a man. I want you to lead me, protect me, and I'd have to feel that all falls spiritually too.
Yes.
So lead, protect, provide.
Okay, now let's go ahead and slide right on in the past and answer that question. We've heard provider, we've heard protector, we've heard leader, and I'm gonna add another one because there are really 4 core principles when you talk about duty of man that most people adhere to, and that is adding the word leader. Teacher to it. Okay, the term teacher to it. Okay.
I didn't think about that.
So when you think about those, Pastor, provider, protector, leader, teacher. Do those line up with biblical principles?
They absolutely do. When I was sitting here as those words were being tossed around, and when you think about man in general, you've got to go back to the first man that was created. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what Adam's role, responsibility was, and how woman evolved to be a part of man's life. She was not created for man to compete with man. She was created to complete man.
That's good.
That was good.
And so the thing becomes that when you look at Adam, you have to also understand that before he had woman, he had a job and he had responsibilities. He had duties. He had duties. Before Eve was created, he was given a job. And his job was to name the animals. And so Adam had the responsibility early on of providing. He had the responsibility of leading because God placed him in the garden to be his top primary creation. There was nothing that was created that was more magnificent than man. And then he had the responsibility not only to lead, not only to protect and take care of the garden and to provide, but watch this. He had the responsibility to teach. Because the serpent beguiled Eve and told her and gave her instructions as it related to how to eat of the fruit what God said. But if Adam would have been fulfilling his role and teaching, he would have taught her the dynamics of what she could eat and what she could not eat. So when we look at a godly man, all of that lines up with man being created in the very beginning to lead by example, to provide, to protect, and to teach.
Let me just say this:
when he said a reflection of God,
when he said this line, to complete, not to compete, it starts smelling like bleach in here because it was so clean. You understand what I'm saying? It was so clean in here. It starts smelling like bleach. Let's check and see if we got any comments before we go to the video, Miss Producer. All right, we got Marita in the building. She goes, "Hey, family."
Hey, Marita.
All right, and Tracy gives her thoughts, which I appreciate. If you're in the chat room, please give us your thoughts on what the duty of man is in your estimation. Also, comment on the questions that we're asking, or we're answering and asking, and comment on the videos that we play as well. So Tracy put something here. She goes, "Service to God, family, and community." Love it, love it. All right. Again, I'm really trying to refrain here from commenting too much. Okay, let's go to Carlton Thomas's comment. He says, "I'm watching my Pastor Dawkins on this call." We appreciate you, Carlton.
Thanks for tuning in.
Appreciate you tuning in. We appreciate you sharing your pastor with us. All right, let's go ahead and check this video out and look at this aspect of duty of man.
You say duty as a man to provide. Part of that is right. The other part of that you're missing is you're not providing for a woman. You're providing a means. So
what's the difference?
You don't come to my table and I don't come to your table. We create a table. So then what happens with that, when that marriage, is that even if I am here or I'm not here, you know what to do. If all I do is give you the money, and all I do is go out to get the money, and I am not here no more, I am crippling you.
Yes.
I need to get you on the table with me so that the table's created, so that no matter what happens, leg is done, I lapse brain, whatever else, you know what to do. Partnership. What that means financially is that you don't bring money and I don't bring money. What it is that whoever can do what we need to do to create an environment where you can make the money and it comes back to us, then it's fine.
He was a little hype, but he said a lot, right? And they got my attention, and that video is what sparked this show topic, duty of man, right? And he said something very interesting. Now, some of what he says, in my estimation, I'm going to go to you first, Pastor, but some of what he said, in my estimation, he talked about leading and teaching. Because he said, if I just simply give to you, right? And there's an old tenet, right? Whether it be spiritually or otherwise, that says, if you teach a man to fish versus give him fish, right? So he talked about, if I just give you the money, then you just got the money. What happens if I'm no longer here, right? Some people may say, God talked about, I'm no longer here. When I'm no longer here, you need to be able to do X, Y, Z, right? So some of what he says lines up. Pastor, I want you to break down basically what he said. He talked about not just giving the money, but we both come to the table as a whole, and I show you what to do, not just here, this is the result. This is the fruits of my labor. This is how I got down, Some may break that down as to, here's how you access the mortgage. Here's how you access the accounts. Here's how you, such and such. Well, if this happens, I'm going to do this first. If that, et cetera, et cetera. Break down your thoughts on that video, Pastor.
Well, just simply the first thing that I thought about is a conversation that I had just this past weekend. I said, we can become guilty of crippling and being an enabler of bad habits by giving handouts instead of hand-ups. And what I mean by that is, what he was saying is that he's trying to produce an environment to where that positive behavior continues, a continuation of that income, because I can easily just give it to you, but then I become the source. It's okay.
Oh, God, dog, slow down.
It's okay if I'm the source.
Yeah.
But the source, when the source dries up, then what takes place?
Wow.
But if I teach you how to be not just depending on me as a source, but if I'm the source and you become a resource, now we can continue and develop and teach others to do the same thing. But if we look at the life of Christ and what he taught his disciples, he taught them to teach others what he taught them. That is what I think that it is our duty. And sometimes I think we become selfish, that, okay, I've acquired mine, I have mine, now you get yours the best way that you can. And that is not the mindset that we have, that if we are to really understand what our full duty is, our duty is not just to ourselves, but to others. We have an obligation, roles and responsibilities to teach, and not just be a source, but to also be a resource.
Yeah. And that source thing, obviously it hit me, see, when Pastor's on, we act like we at church, and we react the same way we would react in church. And if you don't think I'm telling the truth, he'll tell you. I would react the exact same way, right? And you talked about the source, and to me, one of the duties of man, is to acknowledge the true source, right? So, in other words, as he's leading, he's following.
That's right.
Right. As he's leading, he's following. As he's teaching, he's being taught. As he's providing, he's being provided for. As he's protecting, he's being protected. Right. And if he doesn't understand that, in my estimation, he's going to fall short anyway. If he thinks he is the source, and he allows you to treat him as the source without correcting that, that's one of the first corrections it needs to be. Don't thank me. Thank he that sent me. If this is, what God is right, so to speak. All right. Nicole, you've heard that video. Besides his accent made you want to leave Kenny. You get anything else out of it?
I ain't leaving my man for nobody yet. No, you heard what I said yet.
Wow. Yeah.
No,
Dang.
So what did you pick up on his video talking about? It's not just simple providing. It is other things. We need to come together. We both need to come to the table, and we both need to, I need to show you how this is.
Agree wholeheartedly with that, because we in our household, we have had those conversations too. That you have to. It's just not one person providing or doing the things around the house, the home, or with the kids and all that kind of stuff. You have to be a team.
Mm-hmm.
You got to be a team.
Yeah. Mika, thoughts?
I would say the same thing. The team aspect and the handicapping of a woman or the other partner, male or female, because a woman can be the person who's providing all of that and handicapping the male. So I think being able to know what's what, who's doing what, how do we do it, and coming to this thing as a team.
Okay, let me just go on and step in and hurt somebody's feelings and ruffle some folks' feathers out there. The first thing I thought about when you said the woman can be the one who handicap and doing all that stuff too. The 9 times out of 10, the one that she's doing that to first and foremost is them boys.
Agree.
And handicapping them. And that may be why we haven't even discussed duty of man, and that's why it's not readily available or readily understood or readily propagated. Yeah. All right, Lily. Duty.
Yeah, I completely agree with what everybody has said. I really think it's about teamwork, and you should want to have a partnership with your spouse, and to know, like, if something happens to him or her, whatever the case may be, I know that I can step in and take over, because I even think that this piggybacks on the conversation of, you always hear like a relationship is not 50-50 or the 80-20.
That's true.
And I always say sometimes it's going to be 100-0. It might be 80-20. You never know what it could be.
Right.
It just really depends on the situation that you're dealing with. So it's always important to really have that partnership.
Yeah, and that sparks me that it's, in my estimation, it needs to be 100-100. I need all of what you have, not all of what you have left. So he said, not providing for a woman, you are providing a means. You don't come to my table and I don't come to your table. We create a table, create an environment. And that was key to me. He to create an environment, right? Pastor, I bet you he could go off on environment and atmosphere, right? And the setting thereof and what results that could, lead to, right? And he goes, if all I provide and give you the money, who provides after I'm gone? So you know what to do. So I thought that was big. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next question. And I think we sort of have answered that, but I'm just going to go ahead and start. Let's start with you, Lily, on this. Is the duty of man simply to be a provider and a protector?
No, I think like you said, I think we kind of answered it. I think it's more to it. I think those are the two things that probably come to mind first when you're thinking about it and breaking down what a duty of a man is. But it's more to that. We talked about teaching. We talked about leading. So I think it's much more to that. I think those are just one of the two things that stick out.
Mika, anything to add on that? Is it simply to be a provider and protector?
Provider and protector are a good start. But what are you providing for me? Are you providing spiritual covering? Are you providing financial means? Fantastic. What are you providing?
Fantastic.
What are you protecting me from? Are you protecting me from the world that's outside? Are you protecting me from my job that's stressing me out? Are you protecting me mentally? So those are just some of the things that come. So provider and protector, we can cover it all under there. But what are you providing and what are you protecting me from?
Yeah, are you providing cases of dysphronia so I can handle this?
Don't shake your head to
that. Nico.
Don't get past me.
Is duty of man to simply be a provider and a protector?
No, I don't think so. I don't think it's just that. I think there's other aspects of those things, and like Alicia and Mika said, they your husband can do. That's not his only duty that he have, and it's not our only duty to have either. So I think it's just 100 and 100 and 100 of all the way across the board for whatever we need, provision, protection, all those things.
All right, Pastor, you've answered this question from the Jump Street, but go ahead and elaborate on it a little bit more. Is it simply to be a provider and a protector, the duty of man?
No, simply provider and protector is just not enough. It's not enough. You've got to understand, as you mentioned, I mentioned this in the very beginning, you've got to know what role to play and when to play it. Because there are days when she's going to need you to be something different than provider and protector. And that's just that's what God is in all of our lives. He's a provider and protector. But there are some times that we need him to be more than a provider and protector. There are some days that we need him to be a bridge over troubled water.
Right.
There are some days that we need him to be able to perform miracles in our life and walk on water. So the same duty applies to us, is that simply a provider and protector is not enough. And I can prove that. If you are considered a good man and that's all you are as a provider and protector, there will be some problems in the marriage because there won't be any communication. If there's no communication, I don't care how good a provider and protector you are, the foundation of that marriage is not built to last.
Yeah. Oh, wow. So let me ask you this. It's curveball that came as y'all were talking. And, of course, I think we are all in agreement that being a provider and a protector, or simply to be a provider and a protector, is not the sum total of one's duty as a man, right?
Right.
Why then are so many men given kudos for doing simply that, right? Nothing but that. Why is that such a boon for some men to simply be basic providers and protectors? Why is the basics of that so readily accepted and applauded? Pastor,
because it's a lot of
no, go ahead. You can go on. If you got something that the Lord is trying to get off your shoulder, go ahead.
It's a lot of simple-minded women, and that's what they praise. They praise, oh, he's taking care of me, or he protects me. That's not it, sweetie.
Yeah. And that's true. And that's very true. I have some friends like that too. That's what they talk about. And if he's doing that, that's okay. Just that.
Okay, Mika.
Just to piggyback off Alicia, societal norms. That's all that we've ever expected. That's all that has ever been done. That's what we talk about the most. Provider and protector. Girl, he providing and he protecting me. He give me his check and he got that gun in the room and something go wrong. That's all. It's like societal norms. Like it's nothing else outside of that.
All right, Pastor.
I just have to use the analogy that I used on Sunday, and it is that we have become comfortable with accepting ground level.
Wow.
And by that I mean you don't see eagles and chickens hanging out together
at all.
Right.
Eagles are designed to fly and to soar in the air. But as long as an eagle is hanging out with a chicken, it has become grounded and now has a chicken mentality. When it's designed to soar, but the mindset is to be grounded. And I think that too many times we have lowered our standards to accept ground level when our actual thoughts and our actual desires should be higher. Because the Bible says this, that our Heavenly Father, he knows how to give good gifts. So if he knows how to give good gifts, that means that he's looking to give us exceptional gifts. So why are we settling for ground level and standard? Yeah. And that's the standard. He can provide and he can protect.
Yeah.
That's standard.
Yeah. So, y'all, I'm sorry. I apologize to all the babies' mamas and babies' mamas' mamas, called big mamas out there. But how much of this is because they saw Big Mama accept nothing but that?
Yep.
That's true.
You can say ouch. How much of it is because, we have, and again, it's okay to be sheep, and it's from a spiritual standpoint, right? But how much of it is because we don't have thinkers out there? We have followers in the sense that it's just because that's what they've seen and heard. That's why they say protecting and providing, because that's what they see and they hear every day on social media or their friends or et cetera, et cetera. So if anybody wants to comment on that, it's because what they saw Big Mama do, and it's because what they see social media say or hear social media say.
And, you know, when you
I was scared of Big Mama.
When you look at that, you look at the time frame. Then you had more women that were, I don't want to use the word trap because trap is not a good word, but you had more women that were not career-minded women. They basically their responsibilities were it was simple to take care of
the house.
And so what happened is they became now attached to that way of living, to where he was the provider, the sole provider, and without him providing, then the family was in jeopardy.
They had to be dependent
because the only thing that some of them were accustomed to doing was taking care of the home and the children. And when and I don't know people that are having 10 children these days, 8 and 10 children. That was a job in and of itself. It was a more, in my opinion, it was a more important job and a more difficult job than going out and working. Because then, watch this, you see the segue of the responsibility and the duty of the man falling on the woman. Because who's the teacher if she's constantly around the kids, and he may be providing, but she's fulfilling part of that role. It kind of goes back to the video to where we do this together.
Wow. Beautifully broken, perfectly flawed said amen. And then Carlton Thomas said, Carlton won't comment because my pastor Dawkins is awesome and is sharper than a razor blade. Yeah, he is. All right. So again, I just had to get in there. That's what they've heard and that's what they've seen. And it is not enough. So again, from a provider standpoint, again, we talked about the four core principles of duty of man: provider, protector, leader, teacher. So most men believe that being a good provider means supporting a family financially. It means much more than that. A man should also contribute to the emotional, spiritual, physical, and mental well-being of his family. In order to do this, he must recognize that there are other currencies in addition to money that need to be provided. And from a protector standpoint, this means more than just beating up the guy next door if he insults your wife. It means protecting her self-esteem, what did Mika say, and her self-worth, as well as your children's. It can also mean protecting your way of life and guarding against any threats to the things that you and your family value. That right there has some depth to it. It's protecting your way of life, right? And the things that you and your family value. It may be different than what the Johnsons value. Okay. And then again, we talked about being a leader. Instead of waiting for your wife to take the initiative when you're having your problems, take the lead, get in the game and create what you want in your family instead of whining about your family situation. Marriage is not a 50-50 partnership. It's a 100-100 partnership. That means everyone needs to give 100% in order for it to thrive. Remember, you get what you give. Okay. And I attest to the fact, and Pastor know what I think about giving. I think you get way more than you give. If you're giving with the right frame of mind, your return on investment is going to be solid if you're giving with that frame of mind, right? What you sow, again, a teacher, again, is part of it. What are you teaching those around you, especially your children, with your behavior? Is it important to provide a good example for your children, loved ones, and community with both words and deeds? Set high standards and teach by doing. All right. Let's see what we got as the next question. We just talked about, is it simply to be a provider? Is it to set that? We don't have to answer that next question. Let's go ahead and go. And we've covered the four core duties as well. And again, I want to put those up just so y'all kind of see them again. 4 core duties: provider, protector, leader, teacher. One of the questions I had answered or asked was, is it to set the family up to be self-sustainable? And we know that is just part of the duties. That is not the only duties, but that's part of the duties. But really, out of all the duties, if you say that to be self-sustainable, then in order to teach a family or set the family up to be self-sustainable, you got to teach them how to provide, how to protect, how to lead, how to teach, etc. So that really can encompass all of it at once. But Miss Producer, let's go ahead and play the second video and we'll comment after.
I don't respect.
Did you have a father that you respected?
I didn't disrespect my father. He wasn't around.
Okay, so that's the thing. So stop it there, right? You didn't even have the prime example of what you needed to carry your love for men in your later ages. Your father wasn't there to instill certain traits in you so you will accept a man's love. God's love comes through the father. So since you don't really know how to experience and digest the father's love, that means that you don't really know how to experience and take God's love, because that's where the love trickles down from, right? The father's love is much differently than the mother's love. The mother's love is more of a coddle love. You fall down, you get back up, oh baby, it's okay. You fall down, you get back up, oh baby, it's okay. To the point when you've fallen down so much, the father's like, stop falling.
Right.
What are you doing? But the father would tell you that the first time.
Right.
Why are you tripping and falling? Get up. You better than that.
My dad did that to you before.
The father's love is a disciplinarian love. God's love is disciplinary. Think about it. God wants you to repent before you go to heaven. That means that tell me what you did wrong and repent your sins, and then you'll get to the promised land. But if you don't repent, forget you.
You're not going
and
here.
that's that father's love. If you're not changing your behaviors, then hey, get out of here.
All right. Pastor, your thoughts on that? Now, again, I think we would all say he, had some solid points. He may have been a little off a little bit on, I don't think God said, all right, get out of here. But give us your thoughts on that, sir.
Yeah, there is a difference between the modes of love between a mother and a father. What I see when I'm counseling couples in marriage and there's a communication issue, that is one of the examples that I use. Is and women will say, he's not communicating with me. No, he's communicating. He's simply not communicating on the level that you're accustomed to communication, because he's always been communicated to with an impact of get up when you fall down. You've been communicated on a matter of, if you fall down, being picked up, being held and told it's okay. Somebody's going to kiss your knee. Nobody's kissing his knee. Okay. So his level of communication is the level in which he received. So when it comes to the duty of man, when I saw that, I thought about this. It's important to know the members that are on your team, those that you have a duty, responsibility, and obligation to, that you consider your family. You need to know them and know what they need when they need it. Goes back to the thing that I said at the beginning, know what role to play, when to play. And that includes the depth of your love and how you demonstrate that love. And to be, and when I say to demonstrate that love, I mean, there are some times to where it has to be verbal. And then there's that, then there's that nonverbal communication that is also necessary. And so it's got to be a good balance. And that's our duty, to know who we're dealing with and what they need and when they need it. Like, for example, I can tell you,
so important.
You've got to know. I just believe that you have to know what you're dealing with. If my wife can wear it, I can tell you what size it is.
I love it. I love it. Yeah.
And so
right on,
it's
man.
my responsibility as a man to know what she needs and when she needs it. Same thing with my children. It's my responsibility to know when he needs a pat on the back, or when I need to push him in the rear and say, let's get going.
Yeah.
Okay. And so that is the responsibility, but you can't know that unless you're communicating. Right. But there is a difference between a father's love and a mother's love. But I think that when you talk about a father's love, the love that God has is an agape love that's unconditional, that he's going to love us in spite of. And so I think he was wrong in those aspects of God's love, but right in the way in which the modes of love and how it's dispensed between a mother and a father.
Agree.
Lily, anything to add on that based on the video?
No, I don't think I have anything to add. I think, if I can be transparent a little bit, I think that's something that I've struggled with early on. Like, if Brandon would go straight into this mode, I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And Tig even know, because he's even had a conversation with me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta fall back because I can't make it like, oh baby, every time. I can't do that.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
sometimes that's what you want to do as a mom. Like,
yeah,
leave my baby alone.
Yeah, this is what Craig say when he see a woman being too soft on their son. He say, "You gonna make a poor hustler out of him." Okay, blocking purpose is another term, and it's like you got to you got to consider the source, right? And I'm not saying give carte blanche. Every male deserves carte blanche with his kid. Okay, I'm not saying that by any stretch of the imagination, right? Because again, there's a line, right, that can become abusive. But you got to think about what his end goal is, what his agenda is, what his motives are. Is his motive to be dogmatic and domineering over somebody, and I'm getting some sick, twisted pleasure out of this, or am I trying to make this dude the best version of who he can be? When Chico was over here this week, he actually came over this weekend and set up my computer stuff. He came back last Tuesday, I think it was, and went swimming, because he's like, man, I ain't been swimming all summer. I'm gonna come back and swim. And we played in the pool, played basketball, elbowed each other. We just did, what dudes do, right? And we were sitting around talking about that. And he talked about this one time we were in St. Louis, I believe it was, playing in a baseball tournament. We used to travel for that. And he got up to the plate in this playoff game, and we were trying to make a comeback. We had the bases loaded and Chico up to bat. Well, Chico was he always batted either 3, 4, or 5, because he had a good stick. Chico got up there in the first 2 swings and got 2 strikes real quick. Was the sorriest, laziest swings I'd have never had. I'm standing on first base coaching, and when I say I ripped into him in a way that I probably have never ripped into him out loud in public, to where the white folks was okay. One night, and all the daddies was looking at me like, yeah, right, And Chico hit a triple on the next pitch. When he got to third base and cleared the bases, we went ahead. We made a comeback in that particular. When he got to third base, he was crying. The coach asked him, "Why are you crying?" "Because I'm mad." And I'm yelling from first base. I know what's inside of you. I know what's inside of you. I know what's inside of you. And Chico says he tells that story all the time to his friends and stuff like that. And I tell it all the time again, like I'm telling it now to folks, to where it looked ugly to folks. If Dateline NBC had been out there,
you probably would have. You probably would have had them cops waiting for you outside.
But again, the way I got it out of him, I know what's inside of you. It wasn't just simply because we're gonna win or lose the game. Come on, we done won and lost many games. But I can't let you ever not give your best when I know what's inside of you. You don't ever, not put your best foot forward. So again, a father's love is definitely disciplinary. So yeah, Brandon and I done had a couple of conversations.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey, brother, that's what you come to the barbershop for. We all talk about this. It's just what it is,
Yeah.
So yeah, my kids got it. And I'm sure Pat, when his boys playing basketball, I'm sure the first lady didn't like everything you were saying to them boys on the basketball court.
Absolutely not, because I have a similar story. We were at a tournament, and they lost a game that they should not have lost. And I told my wife, I said, you walk ahead of me because I'm going to hang back because I need to talk to him. and I gave him a very firm conversation. And like you said, I said some things that I knew that buttons needed to be pushed. The next game, he goes out, plays like he's on fire. He scores 30, and they beat a team that they shouldn't have beat. And so my point to him was, it's in you.
That's right.
It shouldn't take me having this conversation with you to bring it out of you. But again, a father's communication is different than a mother's, because when we got in the vehicle and he got out, she never did. And that's the other thing too, as we look at the duty of a man. The duty of a man is to have those conversations and to in private, not to publicly embarrass, but you want what's best for those that's on the team. And you mentioned it earlier, King Doc. This is Team Dawkins.
That's right.
this is Team Dawkins, and it's my duty to make sure that everything goes well and right on the team. But it all falls back to what Solomon said. If we go back to the Bible, I hate to go back to it, but it's a formula that works. The fear of God is the beginning of wisdom. That's where that godly wisdom comes in. If we fear God, we have the wisdom, and now we keep his commandments, all the rest of this will fall in place.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And when he said in private, what they didn't see, what wasn't on display on that field was the ride home when it's just me and him. And it's the reason why he responds, and the reason why he kept coming, and it's the reason why Blake keep asking, can we go practice? Can we go do this? If it were harming him, if it wasn't what he needed, he'd be like, nah, I'm through with it. I don't want that because it don't get me nothing good. It don't give me what I need. You know, so that's another indication, right? But it's because they don't see the ride home, the conversations that took place on the ride home. It's like, I got cachet. It is the reason why, as a quote unquote stepdad, you don't come in strong arming your step kids. You don't have the cachet. You hadn't been there long enough to build that necessary trust, that bank account, to be able to go there, right? So again, I built cachet in those conversations in private, that said, come on, Dad, it just, you champions. I don't raise champions the same way. You don't raise champions the same way you raise average kids. I don't care what nobody else is doing or what nobody else is saying or whether they run the first base half, but you not going to do that. We raise champions much differently than we raise. So if you want to be a champion, this is how we doing it, So that begs the question then, and it led me to this. Does the way a father's love appear in conflict with his duties on occasion? Again, I had trouble wording that. I ain't gonna lie. But again, because the father's love is disciplinarian and stuff like that, does it sometimes appear in conflict with his duties, Pastor? You talk to him that way, he can't be operating in his duties as a man because the joker is unhinged.
Yeah, it can conflict with your duties because what it can do is cause conflict in your communication.
Wow.
And so again, whenever a father's love, and I like that father's love because we have a perfect example of a father's love and the love that God shows for us. Now, sometimes love hurts. People that say that love doesn't sting, love doesn't hurt, they haven't experienced real love. Sometimes there is tough love that's administered.
That's right.
But yeah, it can conflict with your duties on occasion because what you're teaching in the name of love, it may not be received on the level in which you're trying to give it.
That's what's up.
And it may not be comprehended. And sometimes the depths of one's love is not truly understood until later on.
Yeah.
Where you look back over those life lessons and you say, that was love. We all have an experience where they went and got the switch or made you go get the switch and gave you a sermon while they were spanking you, and you made the mistake of trying to talk, and they just, every time they would hit you, they would say something, and they would say this crazy thing like, this hurts me more than it hurts you.
Yes.
I'm the one that's getting hit. But later on in life, you understand the magnitude of what was taking place and understand that's why you didn't end up like Pookie and Lil Willie.
That's right.
Okay. It's because somebody loved you enough to discipline you when you were wrong, and you can appreciate it later, but you might not be able to appreciate it right then.
Right. Yeah, that speaks to the, when I say all of my kids, especially when they got kids, those that got kids, but all of my kids, when they got around 25, I got a phone call. Daddy, hey, what's going on? I get it. I understand now. I get why I think Kobe was probably the first person that made that call when he had Kyrie. Daddy, I get it. I didn't understand. You used to couldn't stand you. I understand. Chico made the comments, couldn't nobody else be my daddy but you. Because they get it. So I don't know, Pastor, if you done got them calls yet, but they coming because I know your boys is getting to that age, right?
Yes, sir.
Those phone calls is coming. They gonna get it. They don't get it at that time. And then Pastor said something earlier. He goes, you have to know who and what you're dealing with. right? So he talked about the comprehension of the love that you are displaying, right?
Right.
And that lady said it in the video. She thought it was cute when she said, "I don't respect my nigga."
Yeah, she thought she ate with that. She thought she ate with that.
Yeah, thought she was on something.
Yeah.
And then you don't know how to receive a father's love. So when pastor talk about you got to know who and what you're dealing with, you don't know the upbringing of folks. You don't know. See, we had to be at church every Sunday.
Yeah.
We had to get this level of teaching and this instruction, and we you know what you had in the house and what you didn't have in the house, and whether your daddy was there or whether he wasn't, or whether all those other kind of things. You better get a quick understanding. We all talked about relationships earlier, and that this topic made y'all think relationships. You better get an understanding of who else it is you're dealing with, okay? Who you're dealing with, and how their past, how their history has contributed to who they are today. You know, because again, how you get that information, like Pastor said, sometimes you better not say what it is you need to say. You better show what it is you need to say. Right. Sometimes this ain't the time to be talking. A guy at the barbershop one time, he was talking to him, Mr. Banks, you been married for 50 years, man. How you stay married for 50 years? He just took his toothpick out of his mouth and looked at us and he said, being quiet when I feel like talking. Sometimes he said, you just don't say nothing. You know, usually sometimes I feel like talking and I know this ain't the time. Like Pastor said, you got to know when to deliver.
Read
what
the room.
Exactly. Social awareness, right? All right, it is time now for our final thoughts. We're gonna start with the seasoned queen and give her final thoughts.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank my cousin for being on the show tonight. It was a great time with you.
She using her manners that Miller Road Baptist Church taught.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes. And all of our listening audience for coming on and sharing their time with us when they could have been doing something else. So we appreciate you guys for that. And just remember that God is in control of everything, no matter what it is. So just take that with you.
Before we go to Mika and her final thoughts, I just want to give shout outs to those showing love. Adrian Hollins Love, John Lewis, what's up, Yogi?
Hey, John.
Eversley, Theodora, Blue Streak Harper, Blue Streak
Theodora.
Chef Jeff in the building, what's up? Again, Ben BS3, Trey Sutherth, Damian Johnson, him and again, I don't always talk about what's going to be on next week. But when I say marriage must, if you do not tune into that, I promise you that's going to be fun. Damian and Jamie Johnson, and then Tracy Caraway again. Cousin Tracy, we give a shout out to y'all. And then couple of quick comments. Arlene Caraway says great. And then Jody Mack says,
hello, Jody.
Having a great topic. And Arlene said, love the topic as well. Jody got in late. That's all right, brother. It's the beauty is it's recorded on YouTube. You can sit back and watch it as many times as you want to. All right. Educated Queen, final thoughts.
Quickly, thanks, cousin pastor. That's what my mama called me. Cousin pastor. Get out of here, Wilma. Thank you for coming on with us. And when I thought about this topic, Alicia kids gonna make me whoop them. Excuse me. I thought that was them in the background.
Oh no, that's Nikki house this time.
That's Belly. And Noah.
Oh,
baby,
girl, I said
baby,
Bronx at the door trying to get in.
That's Noah.
Okay. But no, duty of a man. Just looking at it, I thought it at one level, but it's layers to this. So just making me look at it at different perspectives and make sure that I know exactly what to expect, not just in everyday life, but in the relationship as well. So this was a really good topic that has, like I said, layers to it. And it's something that's going to make me ponder for a little bit, but I appreciate the topic.
Okay. Baby Queen, I didn't mention that you got your I don't know if you've been using edge control JL and got your slick back on or what the deal is.
I'm doing the natural right now.
Come on, natural.
That's why I get my hair done. But just hello. I just want to thank Cousin for coming on. It's always so good. And I think he sees the topic beyond what we see. So that's why it's always good just to have him dive in even deeper on the spiritual level. So I appreciate him for always jumping in and giving us a different perspective on the topic, because
absolutely,
it's very, like Mika said, there's layers to it. Duty of a man, I think.
I know.
One of those things that I just keep thinking about is just a reflection of what God is. That's what God wants man to be. He wants them to lead. He wants them to protect. He wants them to provide. He wants them to teach. So I think but that also, I even look at that from a woman, a community, us as a community, like it goes all across. I think that this can go in a lot of different directions,
different areas.
Appreciate the topic for sure tonight.
Right on. Carlton says the broadcast was awesome and encouraging. Thanks to all and others.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you, Thomas.
Pastor, final thoughts, sir.
Well, I in sermon fashion, you know that you're going to get 3 points.
Come on now, 3 points.
So in closing this out, I go back to what I said at the beginning, that the duty of man, according to Ecclesiastes, is the 2 things: is fearing God and then keeping his commandments. And if you have those things, then you truly can encompass the duty of man. And what we've talked about tonight is simply this: the duty of man, translates, transcends, and transfers.
Come on now.
And when we understand how impactful that is, then the deeper question out of this that I leave with is, are we fulfilling our duties as a man? That may be another topic for another day.
Yes, sir.
But thank y'all so much for having me on. It's always a pleasure to be on. Queen3 and King, because y'all are good people, and that's not even because y'all are my kinfolk. But I always enjoy coming on and interacting with you and just sharing on this this blessing of a network to just to get some things out and to help others.
Amen. Yeah, and stay on after we close and sign off, Pastor, so we can thank you properly, sir. For me, one of the things that I as I was preparing for this, I thought about was, and I had a feeling that we probably wouldn't mention, and it didn't happen, but one of the supreme principles of all man's duty, as far as I'm concerned, is the duty to itself, right? You know, to love thyself, to care for thyself, right? You know, we've heard the saying, basically, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of nobody else, right? You know, so if your frame of mind isn't right to care for yourself, then you can't, you know, take care of the others, right? And my closest friends and I generally will say this all the time: we take manhood seriously. To whom much is given, much is required, right? What's not a duty of a man is to suffer in silence, right? Talk to some other men, right? You know, because what you may find is that you have similar challenges. Let me just put it the best way I can to keep some men fed tonight. you may discover you have some similar challenges, you know, so don't suffer in silence. Talk to another brother, another man who you respect, right? Who is keeping his duties. And as far as I'm concerned, one of the main duties, again, because we take manhood seriously, is to display and be the representation of the man that you long to be and are destined to be. Display and be the representation of the man that you long to be and are destined to be. And those are my final thoughts, man.
Heard that.
Again, we appreciate Pastor for coming on. We appreciate everybody in the chat room. Keith Franklin says, to God be the glory. Awesome show. Thank you, Pastor Dawkins, and you, Queen and King. Thank you.
Thank you,
Keith, for joining us. Again, next week, join us with special guest hosts Jamie and Damian Johnson on Marriage Must. They are the host of the Marriage is Real podcast, and it was a weekly listen for me. So join us next week for that, and we will see you next week on another episode of Queen3 and King.
hook in, bro, bring the hook in. Queen 3 and King, we the team, it's going down. We the talk of the town, it's going down. We royalty, wear our crowns, it's going down. Tune in now, it's going down, it's going down. We just hit you with another one. It's going down, we just hit you with another one. It's going down, we just hit you with another one. Tune in now, we just hit you with another one. It's Queen 3 and King. It's Queen 3 and King. It's Queen 3 and King. It's Queen 3 and King.